I think I look back at the mentors that I had. I had my father who was a mentor as an entrepreneur, but also huge support. Gave me a lot of little taglines, little one-liners that I will never forget. Like I wanted to start the business and be huge, but he always said, "Walk before you run."
From NPR, it's How I Built This, a show about innovators, entrepreneurs, idealists, and the stories behind the movements they built. Hi, it's Audrey Ratliff.
And I'm Alicia Anderson, and today we're interviewing Todd Swanson. Todd started out as a salesperson for an automotive supply company, where he traveled the world selling parts that go into cars. Today, he is owner and manager of Skyline Exhibit. In this podcast, we learned how he started from scratch. No office, no customer database, no employees, and built his way up to the successful business he has today. When did you start this business?
I started the business in 1998.
And what inspired you to start it? Was there like a push and drive? Was it a passion? Was it a family business?
It was the drive was my dad was an entrepreneur, and he owned and ran a business. So I watched him growing up, and that just drove me to have a goal somewhere in life to be an entrepreneur myself, learn a lot from others along the way, and then eventually make the step into starting a company. Yeah.
How did you design to name your business, and what does the name mean or stand for?
The name of the company, the Skyline part of it is a global company, and it's an exhibit company. So it's a marketing company that does trade show and event marketing. Which, if you go to a trade show, it's the large displays that you see throughout the exhibit hall. But the name, we wanted the name to be very simple, to not only recognize a brand because it's a global brand like General Motors or Chevrolet or something. It's a global brand, so we put Skyline as the front, and then it's displays and services, or exhibits and services. So we wanted to be descriptive in the way that we named ourselves. So it wasn't, we used the brand as identity, name recognition, and then we just followed it up with a little descriptive of what we do.
So, starting businesses can be expensive. How did you fund the start of this business? Did you take out a loan?
What I did was I did take a second mortgage on my house with the approval of my wife to do that. But yes, it did have to take a loan out to have some capital to start the business.
To make the business known, how did you advertise?
Back in 1998, there was very little internet, so the advertising back then was still in the yellow pages, and we would do trade shows ourselves. We would join local chamber of commerces and go to meetings, but we would advertise in the yellow pages. We were in 13 phone books in the state of Michigan, which was very expensive back then.
So, besides a lack of internet, what obstacles did you experience when trying to start this business? Did you make any big mistakes?
Made a lot of mistakes. I think the biggest obstacle was it's a very unique type of selling, or a unique type of business where it was tough to find people that wanted to be creative. It's a very creative business. There's a lot of it's in this day and age, it's logo and identity and all that. But it was very tough to staff the startup of the business and find people that wanted to learn, because it wasn't to sell that type of marketing wasn't something you could learn in college. So it was something they had to do it by experience.
Who was your main support when starting this business?
I think I look back at the mentors that I had. I had my father who was a mentor as an entrepreneur, but also huge support. Gave me a lot of little taglines, little one-liners that I will never forget. Like I wanted to start the business and be huge, but he always said, "Walk before you run." So I did things in very small steps, and I learned a lot of that. And then the guy that I used to work for was a mentor in my life, and he taught me an acronym called TPA, which is Think, Plan, Act. Don't do that in any other order. You get in trouble. So those are two that were influence.
So you talked about how you had to go to these Chamber of Commerce meetings, but how has your business expanded since then?
The business has grown. It's grown and then shrunk at the same time. So it's grown in sales and revenue. What we've done is we've really focused on building relationships with our core customers versus just trying to find more sales. So when we do that, we build a relationship and we really we manage their entire marketing programs, and we've grown the business by doing more for smaller amount of customers than just going after more customers, which takes more time. So we've really tried to we've grown in sales, but we've reduced in people. When I had a lot of employees, and everybody was just running around trying to figure out what we were all doing, and then we stopped and we just regrouped and really focused on our core business, which would be the relationships with our customers.
And going off that, where do you see this business 5 to 10 years from now?
I see a continued growth year after year. I see some of the technology that's coming into play. I don't see the industry. I used to be a little bit cautious with the industry that we're in. It eventually going away with the internet being so big, you can find anything out. Why do you need to go to a trade show? So why do you need a display or an exhibit at a trade show? So I used to be a little cautious, maybe a little freaked out about what that could be. But the industry continues to grow because people still want a face-to-face interaction. They don't want to just Google something and make a decision to buy large amounts of something from them. You maybe can do that with Amazon or something like that. But so I see the business continuing to grow, and I see just still focusing on what our core is, and building relationships with our existing customers and expanding on that.
So you said you were cautious, but did you ever go through a period of doubt at which you didn't know if you would make it as a small business?
I think I think the statistics are, I used to look at the milestones of year 1 all the way through year 5, and I used to, back in 1998, the statistics were if you can make it to, that 3rd or 4th year, you crossed a lot of hurdles. But year 1 was when there was a lot of doubt. There was no income on my part, which was a little scary because the bills were coming in. But there was still this constant drive to not let that doubt take over and cause me to think about failing. So I never really thought that I would fail. I just knew that I had to hit those milestones and get past them, and they meant nothing. They're just statistics. It wasn't something that it was like, you will fail if you don't. It just was funny how it was embedded, like when I read about starting up and that. So, yeah.
And then in the market today, are there similar businesses that you have to compete with? And if so, how do you differentiate yourself?
In our market, there's a number of other competition or competitors. And I think that what we've done is we've differentiated ourselves based on that real core relationship with a customer. We haven't, it isn't, I used to say the term, stop tripping over dollars to pick up pennies. And that was, let's just really focus on this, building a relationship with your core customer and let our competition pick up all those pennies, because that's what they're going after. They don't really care about follow-up. They don't care about, that whole relationship. And it's hard to explain that in this setting, but it really has been a payoff of payback of what we've invested in. But we do have competition. The internet is our competitor for the low-hanging fruit, we call it, the small exhibits, the small displays that people they're out looking to buy. And so we do compete with the internet, but we don't spend a lot of time fighting for that business. We let it go when it becomes all about the price. If it's about price, we're just really not interested in building or in moving forward beyond that.
That's really cool. I mean, you seem pretty passionate about what you do, but what's your favorite thing about running this business?
I think I'm in year 20, or well, I've been in this industry since 1988, which is a lot of years. I've been the owner since 1998, and I think if I look at all those years back, I've gained more freedom by building a team of people that I can trust. So it's given me the ability to step further away and yet use the knowledge and what I'll call the leverage of building the business to start looking at another opportunity and starting another business. So I think my favorite thing is the building of it, and now I'm addicted to I want to do another one.
Thank you so much. Honestly, this was really eye-opening and really interesting to see what goes into starting this business and how you definitely have to sacrifice some things at the start, but clearly you're happy at where you're at and you kind of have this payoff at the end and a great relationship with your customer base. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. I enjoy it. So any help I can provide, I will do.
We want to thank Todd once more for his time and willingness to meet and talk about his company, Skyline Exhibit. As shown through his stories, having a strong relationship with your customers is a key feature to having a successful business.